Big Rab Show Podcast is kindly sponsored by G1 Reeds. They are the champion's choice, with many bands around the world playing G1 products, providing everything you'd need to hit the circle or the big stage. So, check out g1reeds.com as they keep the lights on here at the Big Rab Show Podcast.
Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another Big Rab Show Podcast. Wow, what a weekend that was. Yep, we're about to get into it and everything in our topic of the week, okay? So before we even talk about anything that happened in Edinburgh this past weekend, we have a whole lot of show to get through, even before we get there. So please don't skip at this point and then head straight to the topic of the week to find out what the thoughts and opinions are on everything that happened. But we will be breaking down everything that happened at the UK Championships. Don't worry. But yeah, let's hit the ground running, shall we? Let's not delay any further. Yeah, if this is your first ever Big Rab Show podcast, then you are welcome. We are the show for the bagpiping folk. We reflect everything in the bagpiping world, be it Celtic music, folk music, or indeed our bread and butter, which is competitive piping and drumming. Each and every week we're here talking about what we know and love to be the music of the Great Highland Bagpipe and its people. And yeah, like every other podcast out there, we do have a Patreon. So there's a link in your show notes right now, depending on where you're listening to it right now, of course. Go and click on that and be part of the Patreon faithful, and you'll be immediately awesome. Yeah, you'll be helping support your favorite wee piping podcast, but also you'll be treated to a wealth of extras, including our weekly Fuse FM Ballymoney radio show, plus a whole dose of additional extras like exclusive interviews and performances and things like that just don't normally see the light of day and are exclusive to our supporters over there on Patreon. So, if you do want some extra bagpiping goodness, then, head over to Patreon. Now, I know I plug it every week as part of our introduction, all right? But I'm going to say this. As part of our piping live shows that we're doing, yes, I said shows, we're doing 2 of them. We have some exclusive extras planned from that. So if you've never signed up to Patreon before, and even if you're a little ways curious, possibly within the next few weeks might be the best time to sign up to Patreon. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but we do have some special bits of content planned for the month of August over there on Patreon. So it'll be a good time to be a Patreon supporter. That's all I'm saying. All right, move on. With each and every Rab Show podcast, we do open the door to listener mail, and this week's no different. Our email address is always bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. Now, where do we start? We have a lot. A lot of listener mail. I think all of the reaction following the competition at the UK's has really sent the bagpiping world into a bit of a frenzy. A lot of it good, a lot of it also not so good. There's been tons of controversy and a lot of talk since the UK's have closed its gates, and we will get into all of it. So it's a lot of your listener mail, and especially a lot of weekly drones this week will be part of our topic of the week, okay? So if you did email us about the UK Championships and your thoughts, questions, opinions, that's all going into this week's topic, okay? So that's later on in the show. But let's play a bit of catch-up then, shall we? Let's go back through. There's some emails here that we need to address. Yeah. We first of all got an email here from Larry. He said, "Hey, Big Rab, in your most recent podcast, you mentioned Ross Miller was doing a tune a day for the past month." Yeah, that's right. He said, which was brilliant. And I wanted to make sure that you were aware of Neil Clark from Falkirk Piping. Yes, the YouTube channel. I do follow Neil on YouTube, actually. Yeah, they said he was doing 100 days of piping. Yikes. So a different tune every day in a different location, and it's been a real treat to watch, and he sent me a link to a playlist. Honestly, folks, go along and have a check at this. I have foolishly missed out on this. So, I do follow Neil on YouTube and all the rest, but those videos haven't been coming through to me for some reason. But now I do. I have them here in front of me. And, Every day is a different tune in a different location. Wow. So, yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, go and have a look at it. Falkirk Piping and Neil Clark has been really thumping out the tunes over there on YouTube. So, yeah, thank you to Larry who sent that in to us. And, yeah, thank you. But I don't know why. I am subscribed to them, but the videos just weren't coming through. Odd that. But, yeah, there you go. Thank you for sharing that. And just wanted to share that with the listeners too. 100 days of piping. Yikes, that's a lot. A different tune every day as well. That's a serious amount of learning too. So well done, Neil. Good stuff. Keep up the good work, man. All right, moving on. We got another email here from Malcolm Chadwick. He said, "Hi, Big Rab Show. My name is Malcolm, and I am a piping tutor at St. Benedict's College in South Africa. We are proud to be hosting the South African Pipe Band Championships this year in the 26th of July. Whoa! Yes, I have been following this story because I'm aware that the Northern Ireland Drum Major display team are actually heading to this. Anyway, let's go on and read the rest of his email. Whilst this is not the inaugural event, it is our first time hosting it, and we have many months of planning and hard work into this event. Yeah, that's to say the least. This championship is going to be absolutely huge, and I've been very keen to find out more about this. So, I did do my due diligence following Malcolm's email, and I did do a lot of searching online, and I found that Paul Brown is a confirmed judge on the day, as well as I mentioned there, the Northern Ireland Drum Major display team will be there as well. So this event, as we say, happening in St. Benedict's College there in South Africa, 26th of July. That's going to be a big competition, man. Yeah. So thank you, Malcolm, for your email. It did draw to our attention a lot of detail about this competition, the South African Pipe Band Championships, which is kind of essentially their nationals. So it's a huge pipe band competition, along with all sorts of great Highland dancing. There's mass band displays as well. There's craft markets, and of course, a beer tent, and all sorts of other stuff to mention. So if you are anyways curious, go and check out the South African Pipe Band Championships on social media. And yeah, very excited for this, actually. Yeah. So, yeah, as always seems to be the question, is there going to be any online live stream element of this? No idea, but we do hope that there will be the odd little cheeky video here and there from performances from the circle. So, yeah, thank you, Malcolm, for emailing us in. Really appreciate it. And, yeah, we are very excited for this upcoming championship. The South African Pipe Band Championship always has some big tunes played, you know? There's some real thumping good bands there from South Africa, so yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that. So there you go. If you're heading to St. Benedict's College, do send us a selfie from that competition. We're looking forward to that. Good stuff. All right, moving on. We got another bit of listener mail from Igor Griffiths. Hi, Igor. It's been a while since you've emailed in, mate. It's good to have you along again. There you go. He says, "Hello, Rab. Having listened to episode 443, I finally went to buy my Piping Live tickets." Good man, Igor. Good man yourself. He says, "Now, normally I would do a splurge and buy tickets for events on each day of the week, including the lunchtime recitals. However, due to overcrowding over the previous years, they have introduced the festival ticket, which makes sense." Yeah. We did talk about the overcrowding issues. A lot of these events, our own event included, we were talking about that last night, actually, about how people were crowding into the venue and even blocking fire exits. It was getting really concerning at a point. So people had to be moved on. So, yeah, it was one of those things. Whenever an event is absolutely heaving, it could be dangerous. So one way to control that is to introduce a festival ticket. There you go. So he goes on to say, "Unfortunately, the week festival tickets are now sold out." Yes, the week-long ones. I did check on the website, Igor, and you're quite right. They're gone now. Yeah. Moving on. So now as I'm buying a separate ticket for each day. There you are. Yes, you can still do that. So I am focused on what events are currently announced on each day of the week to justify the purchase. Yes, they're still announcing events from what I've seen. Looking at pipinglive.co.uk, there are still announcements happening of different acts kind of springing up in different parts of the festival, which is really exciting, you know. So, yeah, fantastic. I'm all for it. So, of course, I'm going to give a big plug in here. Big Rab Show live at Piping Live. We're going to be there on the Wednesday and Thursday. So that's 2 days. That's 2 tickets you need there. There you go. All right, moving on. You like the way I leave it in a shameless plug there, Igor? Good stuff. He goes on to say, the upshot being that I'm only going to the Piping Centre on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you're hitting the 2 days we're there. Good man. But it won't be attending the lunchtime recitals, as this is another expense on top of the access ticket. Yes, those recitals, though, are incredibly popular. And, those tickets, I'm sure, will sell out quickly. But yes, you're quite right. That is another added expense on top of the ticket. There you are. He goes on to say it'll be interesting to see how attendance compares to the previous couple of years with this new ticketing system in place. Yeah, will be. And I'm sure that we'll talk about this in future podcasts. But we do see it kind of now as a necessary evil. You know, number one, we were talking about their crowd levels, and they were concerning at some points, But also, we spoke about it with John Mulhern on our previous podcast as well, about things just becoming more expensive and how ticketing could help supporting an event like that. So, yeah, it's, I don't know, a necessary evil, I think. But, yeah, I guess we'll see how the festival goes this year. Moving on. He finishes off his email by saying, the world's ticketing is, again, not for the faint-hearted. Yeah, you're not wrong. Why can't I just click a button and pay for both days? Thank you, Igor. Yes, I've been saying this for years now. I don't know why they haven't implemented this. He goes on. He says, instead, I have to select the Friday. Yeah, right-click, add to the basket, into a new tab, and then return to the first tab and select the Saturday and add that to the basket as well. Yeah, it's very weird. And then you have to do like a mathematical check to make sure that you've got your appropriate discount for both days. Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know why you just can't click a weekend ticket instead of having to individually add both days. Makes no sense, but there you go. Anyway, moving on. He said, this took me a couple of attempts to get it right, and I use IT in my day job on a daily basis. So good luck to those who are expected a smooth ticketing experience and stumble onto this mess. Yeah, Borantang, Igor Griffiths. Thank you, Igor. Yes, you're quite right. The world's ticketing thing, it isn't intuitive. It isn't easy. You do have to individually add both days and then calculate to make sure that you've got your discount. Yeah, complicated to say the very least. But thank you for your email. Very detailed. And I'm also very happy to see that you've got tickets for the Wednesday and Thursday of Piping Live. Good stuff. All right, moving on. Okay, so that's pretty much it for listener mail then. If you do want to get in your own listener mail, of course you can do. Email us in, bigrabshow@gmail.com. That address again, bigrabshow@gmail.com. But absolutely love to hear from you. Right. Now, I did promise you, we've got a lot of weekly drones all talking about the UK Championships, okay? A lot of them are very strong opinions on everything that happened, and we will be bringing that all to our topic of the week. So, for those of you listening right now to hear your weekly drone, it'll be happening later in the show. Okay, but we did get a couple of weekly drones this week, actually, that have nothing to do with the UK Championships. Or do they? But, JD, let's hear this week's first weekly drone then, shall we?
It's the weekly drone.
Judges. If judges were back in tents like in the early years, would the results be different?
Weekly droner, that's an interesting one. Yeah, now this was, I think it was following a social media posting. I think it was of the All-Ireland Championships way back in like the 40s, maybe early 50s. Which illustrated how the All-Ireland Championships started. There was two judges on the day, one piping, one drumming, and both of them sat inside a tent with their back turned to the band. So they could not see who the band was that was on the line. They just sat in their wee tent and wrote their notes. And that was it. Yeah, they sat with their backs turned. They didn't see who it was, but they were certainly able to sit in their wee tent and have a listen to it. And yeah, that was how the All-Ireland Championships started life. Yeah, it's a very interesting concept, that. And yes, it is arguable, isn't it? Yeah, we've talked about that on the show before. How much does a judge pay attention to the visual impact of a pipe band whenever they see them walking up to the line? Are they suitably impressed and going, hey, these guys are going to know what they're doing, and possibly give them an extra few points? I don't know. To be honest, I can't see that being the case. But yeah, our bagpiping world, we've said this before, it's a pretty small world, and we all know each other quite well, you know? And when a piping judge or a drumming judge, an ensemble judge, whichever, would see a pipe band approaching, you know, they are going to know that pipe band's story. They're going to know their history. And they're also going to know, they'll have a preconceived notion as to what their performance might sound like. You know, all of us has been in this piping game for long enough. If we were to do a blind test with the blinkers on and just play a random track from a world CD, I would say, arguably, probably 9 times out of 10, you'll probably get the band right. Now, that, again, could be stuff the Rab got wrong. Yeah, but I would challenge anybody out there in the bagpiping world to try this. Put on a random recording from the Worlds, for example, all right? And then don't look, just click on it or press play and then try and guess who the band is. Now, I've done this myself many times. We would quiz each other here in the Rab Show team quite a lot. And we go, hey, Rab, who's this? And then you'd have a listen and you go, Simon Fraser. You know? Or you'd listen to it and you go, that's Five Police. Or, yeah, that's St. Lawrence. Come on, that sounds like St. Lawrence. Or, is that Field Marshal? That's early 2000s Field Marshal? Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, so we do this all the time. I don't know, maybe our house is a bit weird, but yeah, we do that. So yeah, I think that if a judge was to see a pipe band approaching, they would have a preconceived notion as to what that musical voice will sound like. Which is why in recent times, when bands have changed leadership recently, it's why it's been so interesting, because that could drastically change the voice of a pipe band. Yeah, and yeah, it's exciting. You know, so that preconceived notion that that judge might have can be completely thrown out the window because the band could sound completely different. So yeah, weekly droner, that's an interesting concept, that. And one, honestly, I would love to see if it would work. You know, if we were to place our judges in a little tent that's all completely screened off and they can't see who's in front of them, and the band just hits the opening rolls and away they go. You know, completely blind judging, it would be an interesting concept, that. Yeah, that's a good weekly drone right there. I like that. That was fun. All right. JD, I believe we have another one before we have to get into the news and updates. So go on, let us have it. What's the another one then? Go on.
It's the weekly drone.
The Grade 1 guest list needs a bouncer. This week's drone, Grade 1 bands treating the World Championships like a drop-in Kaylee. Let's be honest, Grade 1 is the show, the main event. The reason the crowds come out in droves, dragging deck chairs, flasks, and optimism that maybe the toilets will be better this year. And yet somehow, bands can turn up at the Worlds with only a couple of competitive appearances all season and still line up against those who've been grinding away since the spring. I'm not talking about punishing overseas bands. Far from it. Travel's hard, expensive, and it's a huge commitment. But if you want to be part of the biggest event in the pipe band calendar, you should earn your place by doing at least 6 competitions in the lead-up, wherever they are. Local contests, regional circuits, a few stand-up battles. Just something to show that you're more than a seasonal rumor with the drum corps. Because right now, it's like letting someone enter Wimbledon after a year of playing swing ball in the garden. Grade 1 should be a league of hard-prepped, well-honed bands. Not a guessing game of who even are these guys. So let's set the bar. 6 contests. Play some shows before the big stage. Otherwise, don't call it the World Championships. Call it the World Cameos.
Ooh, the World Cameos. It's an interesting concept, that, to have like 6 qualifying events in the run-up to the Worlds. Now, we did talk about this on a previous show, that this could be one of the ideas to possibly run like a pre-qualifier for the World Championships. You know, instead of having these group stages and then having to play an additional final on the day, then perhaps, like an aggregate score could be added up throughout the season. And that would see a lot of our minor competitions being better supported. Yeah. Not just in the top flight. Like our weekly droner mentioned there, yes, Grade 1 honestly does draw a lot of attention. And whenever bands are absent from minor competitions, it's very notable and it's easy to see. Like, oh, right, that band's not showing up today. Right, but I'm going to kind of fight the corner for our Grade 1 big guns for a second, okay? Logistically, a lot of these huge Grade 1 band organizations, they're what I liken them to is like a giant container ship, where if you want to take a left turn, you need to start turning you need to start turning like weeks and months in advance. The logistics of actually having a Grade 1 pipe band in a competition is way more complicated, arguably, than it would be for some of the grassroots piping. All right? Now, I don't know, that could be stuff that Rab got wrong, but that's been my experience. Whenever I've been playing on the top flight, I did notice that there was a lot more happening logistically. And whether that's because of a lot of flying in players, people from all around the country and further afield, it does take a little bit more organization to get everybody there on the field, on time, in tune, ready to go. But yeah, that's not to say that all grades below Grade 1 don't have that same issue, because they absolutely do. But yeah, I'm going to fight that corner for a little while. Although it's not a giant soapbox to stand on. But yeah, I do take your point. Whether I think 6 minor competition appearances would be sustainable, I don't know. That's arguable. Plus, at the same time, will a lot of the jurisdictions and branches out there around the globe have 6 minor competitions available for a Grade 1 band to compete at? That's a very good question. And of course, given the geography of some pipe bands out there, bands will have to travel thousands of miles to attend a minor competition. And would that make financial sense? I don't know. Take the likes of Simon Fraser University, for example. They would need to jump on an airplane and fly for 8 hours, get a hotel stay, wake up the next morning, compete at a minor competition where chances are they could be the one and only Grade 1 band there, and then fly another 8 hours back home again. Would that be financially viable? Doubt it. But that's just my opinion. And again, all of the logistics that go along with that, yikes. So, Weekly Droner, yes, I do get what you're putting down. I do understand it. I do, what you're trying to encourage here is more Grade 1 action at minor competitions. Supporting a lot of the local branch scene would certainly be helped, by the attendance of some of these Grade 1 big guns. Completely agree with that. However, in practice, it's entirely different. It's, I don't know. It's a very difficult one to kind of delve into. And I'm sure we'll probably look at that at a future show, But, I know I'm kind of sailing to the rescue of our Grade 1 big guns, aren't I? But, we're all in the same boat logistically. We all have to take time off of work, spend time away from the wife and wains to go and play tunes on a Saturday, So, I don't know. It's a very difficult one, that. But logistically, is it possible? I don't know. Anyway, you can let me know your thoughts and opinions, of course, on this topic or any other topic that we've mentioned here, of course, especially on blind judging. That's an interesting one. You can go to our website, thebigrabshow.com. There's a big button, top of the page, says Weekly Drawn. You can let us know your thoughts and opinion, warts and all, and we'll bring them here to a future show. There you are. All right. Well, that's Weekly Drone out of the way. And yes, as I've said, the rest of your Weekly Drones that are on the topic of the UK Championships, we will be talking about that later on the show. All right. JD's going to be a busy man this week. There's 2 drones out of the way, and he's nowhere near done. There's a load here on the shelf. So, JD, don't get comfortable, mate. You have a pile of work to do. Anyway, right. Let's get to it. Time for me to take a small break at this point, and I'll be right back with all of the news and updates.
Right, folks, I want to tell you about a brilliant new app called MusoLink. It's from Matt Fraser. Yeah, the same guy behind the B-flat tuner. And it's all about helping you track your music practice smarter. You can record your sessions using AI, add notes, get reports, and keep yourself accountable. But what really makes it stand out is the social side. It's like Strava for pipers. You can follow your mates, give them kudos, leave comments, and stay motivated together. Loads of bands are already on board, including Scots College, Hawthorne, and loads of others who are making big moves. So, if you're prepping for this year's World Championships or just want to get better, search for MusoLink on the App Store now. And once you're there, why not give the Big Rab Show a follow and we can push each other over the line. Do you wish piping could be fun again? Bagpipers around the world continue to struggle with their instrument, despite hours of hard work trying to get better. Bagpiping should be fulfilling. Your hard work should pay off, showing improvement and the freedom to express yourself musically. Or why do it? The Dojo University believe every piper should be able to free themselves from musical frustration, proven over more than a decade of successful teaching and accessible anywhere with an internet connection. The Dojo is unlike any other bagpipe learning experience in the world. Let the Dojo channel your enthusiasm into a fun and fulfilling program that will empower you with the knowledge to fall in love with piping all over again. So go to dojouniversity.com/Big Rab and take advantage of our 30-day free trial of Dojo Premium membership. Join the global community of students today and rediscover the fun of bagpiping. dojouniversity.com/Big Rab for a 30-day free trial.
Okay, time to get into all the news and updates. Now, we're going to have to gloss over a lot of this because, yeah, let's face it, everyone's going to want to hear the topic of the week. So we're going to do what we can to get there quickly, but there is a lot of ground to cover. So first of all, obviously, this past weekend was the UK Championships, and we all know the date, the 12th of July. We've talked about that many times here on the show, and we're not going to talk about it again and again and again. But we need to talk about the amount of piping and drumming that took place over the course of the 12th of July celebrations here in Northern Ireland. And full credit to all of the bands on display this past weekend here locally. And yeah, I have to mention as well the amount of drum majors and bagpipers and drummers who this is their first appearance. Yeah, a lot of them obviously have been working hard and getting ready for a parade, first of all, before possibly then heading the competition field. So, yeah, just congratulations to everyone who did make their debut and stepped out with their pipe bands over the course of the 12th of July celebrations here. It was great to see so much great piping and drumming represented all across Northern Ireland and around the world for that matter. Yeah, so fantastic to see. And we did receive a few Big Rab Show selfies. And yeah, shout out to Lisbeg Pipe Band who sent us in one. Thank you, Louise, and to everyone there at Lisbeg. Brilliant to see us all out. So, yeah, whether you celebrated the day or not, whether you marked it or not, or perhaps you just stayed in the house and just waited for videos from the UKs. Either way, we wanted to give a huge thanks to all the pipe bands that were out and around, thumping out big tunes all across the weekend as part of the 12th of July celebrations. That was brilliant to see. All right, that being said, let's move on with some of the rest of the news and updates, shall we? Right. Now, for those of you in the know, well, of course, this past weekend also seen the end of Piping Hot Summer Drummer. Yeah, we haven't talked about this event much this year because there hasn't been much online about it, to be honest. There hasn't been much kind of bluster or advertising for Piping Hot Summer Drummer because, well, it essentially advertises itself. It's a week-long, just incredible event. It has all sorts of great tuition and ensemble performances. It's just a fantastic event. And if you don't know about Piping Hot Summer Drummer, where have you been? But you can go along and check it out. There are now starting to see videos surfacing from Piping Hot Summer Drummer. And yeah, especially from the final night of the event, where Callum Beaumont, Stuart Little, Jack Lee, and Alan Bevan took to the stage and played in a quartet. And man, oh, it was something else. I have to give a massive thank you to Dave Scott, who filmed these videos for us and published them online. And seriously, go and check out that quartet from these 4 virtuosos of the bagpipe. Genuinely, that's just fantastic. So, yeah, really enjoyable. Shout out to everyone there at Piping Hot Summer Drummer. Apologies we haven't mentioned it normally as much as we normally would here on previous shows. But, yeah, we have been quite busy covering things here in that regard. But, yeah, thank you, everyone at Piping Hot Summer Drummer. It seemed to be a roaring success, and the tunes played there was just blistering. We're still starting to see, well, little videos every now and again creeping through. So if you were at the event and you do have a few videos on your phone, then why not share them with us? You know, we'd love to see it. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Also, on July 13th as well, I have to give a mention to pipe bands Australia. Yeah, they've wrapped on their winter piping and drumming retreat. Yes, and we've been keeping across the detail of this. Of course, thanks to their sponsors, St Kilda Retail, this event seemed to have been a roaring success with all sorts of great piping and drumming tuition all throughout. Week long, and yeah, I don't know. Again, we're still starting to see little video clips and little pictures and stuff from this event. I don't know why there hasn't been as much on socials from this, because honestly, very exciting to see that people gathering from all around Australia to this, and it was just fantastic to see. And it's kind of weird. We're in the middle of our summer right now, in the middle of our piping season, but in Australia, they're in their off season. This is the winter there. So, you know, the earth tilts a certain way. Anyway, so different seasons. It's strange. So, yeah, they're in the middle of their winter season right now, off season. And, yeah, thanks to Pipe Bands Australia for having their piping and drumming retreat. Brilliant to see. Also, speaking of, you know, tuition and things like that that's happening, the RSPBA Summer School is still currently running. I think it started there on Monday past. So, yeah, and again, they have been uploading a lot of stuff from theirs, however. You know, in comparison to Piping Hot Summer Drummer or the Australian Winter School, yeah, RSPBA headquarters have been going into social media overdrive. Not entirely sure what has happened, but someone has plugged in their social media machine, and it's definitely churning out the goodness, yeah, from their summer school, and it's been fantastic. A lot of great tuition on offer there, and genuinely, I know that I've kind of got mocked for this, but I can see improvement. You know, from day one when they first published videos on this through to where we are now, day 3 of their summer school, you can certainly hear a difference. So, hey, 3 days worth of solid tuition and practice is definitely having an effect on those youngsters, so it's brilliant to see. So, yeah, full credit to RSPBA and their summer school. It's been exciting kind of following along with that. So, yeah, go and check that out. The RSPBA on their social media has been churning out the videos pretty much every day of the summer school, and it's been brilliant to see. So keep up the great work there. Okay, I want to talk about the European Championships, okay? This is all going to be happening on the 9th of August. We all know that. What I want to talk about is not the draw, nothing like that, not the venue. I want to talk about the tickets. Yeah, this has been a bit of a topic for this year, you know, and yeah, the tickets for this for spectators are now available. And the price of an adult ticket, £16.50. Yeah. Now, there are other concessions, of course, for those under 16. There's also a concession called Young Scot. I don't know exactly what that is. But also for seniors as well and disabled. And you can get a family ticket, which is 2 adults, 2 kids. And that's £37.50. So, yeah. So if you are anyways curious, you can go to tickets.perthshireboxoffice.com. Yeah, that's not easy to say in the podcast, but yeah, tickets are available for this, and do be aware, you can't just land at the venue and expect to get in. You do need to have a ticket. So yeah, general admission for an adult, £16.50. Yeah, you can draw your own conclusions with that, whether you think that's a good deal or not, but yeah, it seems to be a bit of a trend now with, you know, people were talking about the cost of tickets for the UK Championships as well and about whether it was worth the price of admission. We'll get into that in this week's topic. But also, yeah, the price of tickets for the World Championships. Now, we did get listener mail on that, talking that it's kind of on a par with other music festivals, the likes of Glastonbury or things like that. You know, big music festivals. And, yeah, is this kind of the norm Now, should we expect to pay an admission fee as a spectator to get into all major championships? That's an interesting one, especially when you consider that the Scottish Championships in Dumbarton are free. I'm just going to leave that little chestnut out there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm particularly biased. I love Dumbarton competition. I think it's one of the best majors in the calendar. I really do genuinely love it there. And I don't know, I have a soft spot for Dumbarton because they always get a rough deal whenever it comes to the weather. It always lashes in Dumbarton. I don't know what it is. But yeah, the competition there for the Scottish Championships every year is definitely very, very good. So yeah, and it's free. But here we are, the Euros isn't free. So yeah, do consider that whenever you're planning on attending, that you may have to shell out some schmeckles to get through the door. There you go. So yeah, tickets are available. I'm not going to try that web address again, but have a look. Tickets.perthshireboxoffice.com. There you go. I managed it that time. Yeah. Okay, well, you knew I was going to mention it, of course. We have to give a shout out this week to Pipe Major Chris Armstrong, who is now Chris Armstrong, BEM. Yes. Yeah, so he received his BEM medal at a recent civic ceremony held in Glasgow City Chambers. And yeah, this was part of the 2024 King's New Year's Honours list. And to say the least, Chris looks to be absolutely chuffed. So, yeah, congratulations. And a great recognition, honestly, of his contribution to bagpiping. And he is honestly quite a pivotal figure in Scottish cultural heritage, along with all of the influence he's had in the bagpiping world. It's just been amazing. So there is a full article on this on bagpipe.news. You can go and read about it. All about Chris's history, all of his bands that he's played with, people he's influenced, and all of that. It's all up there now on that website. But yeah, we just wanted to give him a shout this week. Congratulations, Chris Armstrong, BEM. I'll have to be mindful to give you your full title now every time I mention you. Yeah, I can't just call you Chris. But I'm joking, of course. But yeah, congratulations to Chris Armstrong, BEM, who just looked to be very chuffed to have received his recent honour. Fantastic. Okay, I want to give a mention this week to Wallace Bagpipes, who are advertising something quite exciting. Yeah, if you are in social media world, well, you might have posted the odd thing every now and again, and would you fancy yourself as a content creator? Yeah, well, Wallace Bagpipes now have an opportunity for a full-time, proactive social media manager / content creator to help them showcase what they do. Now, what they need is someone who gets and understands the brand and the voice of the business. They can shoot and edit photos and videos and knows how to build engagement on the likes of Instagram, Facebook and beyond, and has fresh ideas and can create the likes of reels and stories and posts that pop. There you go. So if you are interested in applying for this, you can email them info@wallacebagpipes.com, and yeah, they'd be interested to hear from you. There you go. So yeah, I think the post finishes. It says, let's make sure no one ever says, I don't know you made that again. I think that's one of the common problems at Wallace Bagpipes is that they do mix so much, you know, and honestly, some real good quality instruments for sure. We've been championing them now for years. So yeah, Wallace Bagpipes have a fantastic opportunity for anyone out there who does want to work in social media or content creation. Well, then there's your opportunity. There you go. info@wallacebagpipes.com, and best of luck to you. Yeah. Now, if anything, it's us, the general public, that would benefit from this, because we're going to see a lot of great new stuff coming from Wallace Bagpipes online. So, hi, good luck, and we look forward to seeing what you managed to produce there. Brilliant stuff. Okay, let's talk about Piping Live. I know I haven't mentioned it up until now. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? But yeah, they're continuing to churn out the good stuff with announcements of all sorts of gigs all across the festival. You might think by now that they've already finalized their lineup for everything. Oh no, not at all. If anything, it continues to develop. And Pipe Idol, their lineup has just been confirmed there on July 9th. And yeah, it's truly an international affair. You know, from Scotland, obviously, but Australia, the United States, from New Zealand. They're from all over, genuinely. So 4 days of competition, Monday through Thursday. And yeah, the Pipe Idol competition's going to be absolutely off the chain this year. I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, thanks to Fred Morrison Bagpipes, who sponsors the event every year. This event does continue to get bigger and better. And arguably, this is going to be one of the best yet. So a lot of big names in here in the world of junior bagpiping for under 21s, but definitely the talent that's going to be showcased here is going to be second to none. So for that information on the full lineup, you can go to pipinglive.co.uk, check out the details, and if you do plan on attending any of those pipe idol competitions, you will not be disappointed. Honestly, yeah, I've attended quite a few of them myself over the years, and the tunes that are on offer here are just absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. So, right, I'm getting tongue-tied now, but time to move on. There are still tons of other gig announcements and things that are happening all across Piping Live. One of the most recent ones that kind of really piqued my interest is something that's happening at Piping Live, talking about the 78th Fraser Highlanders. Yeah, the 70th Fraser Highlanders live in Ireland, a turning point in pipe band history with a question mark. I don't think it needs the question mark. I think it absolutely was a turning point in pipe band history. Yeah, Pipe and Live are going to be joined for a special listening party and panel discussion hosted by Gary West from, of course, the Enjoy Your Piping podcast. Yeah, well, they will sit down and listen to the full album and then have a chat with the panel. What? That's going to be brilliant. Now, that's going to be on the Tuesday of Pipe and Live, and genuinely, that's exciting. But, of course, I am sitting here looking at my 70th Fraser Highlanders Live in Ireland album right now. It's on my wall. Yeah, what an iconic moment, and yeah, that'll be a very interesting discussion. So there's that, plus a wealth of other stuff. You know, they're making main stage announcements, Buchanan Galleries, pipe band performances, and other open practices. There's so much happening at Pipe and Live. No, I didn't even mention Big Rab Show live at Pipe and Live. I know I've been accused of talking about it too much. Last night's all we seem to talk about. But yeah, we've got 2 live shows at Pipe and Live. Did I mention it? I think I might have. But yeah, go and check it out. Pipeandlive.co.uk. The announcements are being churned out. Nothing rotten at the moment. And do consider, like Igor earlier in our listener mail, go and grabbing your tickets for it and avoiding disappointment. Because, as we say, this might be used to control crowd numbers. So if you haven't got your tickets yet... Speaking of not getting tickets yet, we need to talk about Shots. Yeah, their big Solus concert that's happening, of course, the pre-Worlds concert. Tickets are incredibly low for this, and we've been warned by many different outlets that this is very close to being sold out. Yeah, now I can guarantee that this will sell out. Yeah, it does every year, and yeah, come on, it's Shots. We know that they're going to put on one heck of a show. So if you haven't got your tickets yet, please go now. Go and grab them while they're still there. To be honest, I still can't believe they are still there at this point. 16th of July, I expected this to be sold out already. But yes, the merchandise as well, the pre-orders for their Solus merchandise, I think that has closed now for all intents and purposes. But you might still be in luck. But my advice is to go along to Shots in Dykehead, Caledonia on their socials. Go and check out their merchandise and ticketing information. Yeah, the Solus concert is going to be absolutely huge. I can't wait for it. And I hope you guys can join us there. So go and grab tickets for it. Avoid disappointment. It's going to be one heck of a show. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about some RSPBA stuff then, shall we? They put out an announcement there, just last week, July 10th, announcing that they now have an official patronage by His Majesty the King. Yes. For a while now, the RSPBA had been without a royal patron, and there was a potential risk that they could lose that acronym from their name. Yeah. It could have just been called the Scottish Pipe Band Association for a while, but now they have confirmed their royal patronage. Yes, they can successfully use that again. I don't think it ever was at risk. I don't think it was ever really spoke about, but some people mentioned it online, thinking, well, hey, if you haven't got a patron, then can you really call yourself the RSPBA? Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's keyboard warriors or possibly. Yeah, possibly. But here we go. Yeah, they now have confirmed that, the patronage by His Majesty the King has been confirmed. Reading the full press statement, it says, the Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association is pleased to announce that His Majesty King Charles III has graciously agreed to become our patron. We are immensely honoured and at being granted this great privilege. That's it. That's the full press release. Okay? So move along. Nothing to see here. I don't know. From what I remember, I think King Charles, whenever he was Prince Charles, I think he was the patron back then. Or perhaps I'm getting him mixed up with being the patron of the National Piping Centre. Perhaps that is also. Stuff the Rab got wrong. See, I don't fully keep across this kind of stuff, like who is the head honcho of this and who's the patron of that. I don't keep across it. I'm more about what happens after the opening rolls in a circle. All this kind of stuff, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. But I'm sure someone out there, this does make a lot of sense and can possibly explain it to me. And whether that Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association deal was ever at risk. It probably never was. But anyway, you can let me know if that stuff at Rab got wrong. But hey, it's supposed to be exciting news. Are we to be excited about it? That we have a royal patron now? Grand. Okay. Yeah, I don't fully get it, but that's okay. Grand. Thank you, Your Majesty, King Charles, for being a patron of the Royal Scottish Pipe Band Association. Very cool. All right, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to very briefly mention Maxville. Maxville's fast approaching, okay? Now, you might think, it's not for weeks yet. No, August 1st and 2nd is just around the corner. So, yeah, the Glengarry Highland Games are about to open their gates, and they've been publishing stuff along on their socials, talking all about it, what you can expect at the games, not just the piping and drumming element, but everything else that's on offer there as well. It's quite exciting, and the build-up to Maxville is real, folks. And yes, we're talking about ticketing. Let's talk about the price of admission for the Glengarry Highland Games. Yeah. Now, you can buy, I think, a weekend ticket, and it'll cost you $26. $26! There you go. And if you want to get into the grandstand, which is, that big sort of white covered kind of, it's basically a grandstand. Yeah, you got to pay $5 to get in there as well. So that's an additional $5 to get there too. There you go. Now, there are also, I have to give a shout out to Emma Barr, who's going to be hosting her drum majoring workshop. That's on offer as well, but that is ticketed. So if you do want to go and attend your drum major workshop, that'll be on Friday the 1st with Emma. That'll be $66. So all of this is available on showpass.com. All of these details about all your ticketing and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the general admission ticket, $26. I think it's kind of in around what we would pay pounds-wise for the likes of what we just mentioned, the Euros and possibly the UK's past there, and the World's coming up. But I'm just going to throw it in the mix again that the Scottish Championships is free. Anyway, but yeah, the details coming up for Maxville, they're continuing to add to the lineup here of what to be excited for. So looking forward to that. Yeah, so we'll keep across the detail of that. But just wanted to give you a heads up. Tickets are available. You can go and purchase them for that. All right, now I want to mention the Glasgow Sky Association Pipe Band. Okay, now thanks to one of their drummers, Hendrik, he published a photograph on their socials that really had people talking. Now, I know very little about this, but I'm very keen to learn more. Apparently, Glasgow Sky Association Pipe Band used a brand new prototype drumhead for the UK Championships. Now, is this stuff that Rab got wrong? Stuff that Rab got wrong. I really hope not, because these look really interesting. Now, the top heads that they played on their snares and bass and tenor and all of that honestly sounded brilliant after you listened to the recordings from them this past weekend. So what is this new prototype top head? What is it? There's no branding on it. There's no badges. There's no names. It doesn't seem to be very clear as to who makes them, but I'm very curious. Yeah. So if anyone from the Glasgow Sky knows anything about these new prototype top heads, let me know. I'm very curious. A lot of people have been guessing out there. Are they made by Remo? Are they Premier? Or, some people even said they look like the Cybermax ones with no logo. Or even, do you remember the old Tendura heads? Man, I love Tendura heads. Anyway, very curious. And if any drummers out there or anyone from Glasgow Sky that knows about these new prototype top heads, very curious about that. Yeah, let us know how that develops and what they are. And even at that, how we can get our mitts on one. There you go. All right, let's move on. Okay, going to briefly mention the National Youth Pipe Band of Scotland. Yeah, they have launched something really quite exciting called the NYPBS 2.0. Yeah, which they're calling this the new iteration of the National Piping Centre's flagship youth engagement program. And honestly, they're genuinely excited for and the impact that they believe that this will have. And importantly, how this development will enable them to fulfill their commitment to continuous improvement and their intention of keeping the NYPBS fair, transformational, and resilient so that the world changes around them, they're able to keep up with it. So, yeah, what is changing, essentially? Well, they're going to be changing a lot with regards to the tuition and things that are on offer here. But most importantly, they will also be introducing fees. Now, that has been a controversial one. There's already been a lot of comment on this online about the fees aspect. Some people are for it, some people not so much. Now, they do get into the detail as to why they have to charge for this, and there will be fees involved for new members. And that's the thorn in the side here, I guess. But it is a necessary evil whenever you do read their explanations behind it. This will be something that we'll talk more about, of course. We will hopefully line up an interview with the folks there at the National Youth Pipe Band to kind of fully unpack this and as to what has changed. What is NYPBS 2.0? And, the introduction of possible fees. What will that bring then to the entire effort? Yeah. So for more details, of course, you can go to the National Piping Centre website. They have full details there, including where they can now get your applications in. I believe applications should be open soon for this, for the new year. Shout out to the National Youth Pipe Band of Scotland. That's exciting there to see things developing. And the NYPBS 2.0. Yeah, brilliant. All right, this time I have to give a shout out to Cameron Barnes. Yes, who was performing on quite a huge stage. Yeah, shout out to Cammy Barnes, who was on stage with Tom Walker at the Transmit Festival. Now, this is a massive deal. To see bagpiping represented on such a massive, massive stage like this, like I'm talking thousands of people, and yeah, Cammy was on stage with Tom, thumping out Leave a Light On, I think is his big hit, and Cammy stepped out with the bagpipes, and you talk about a roar from the crowd when the bagpipes started. It was such a feel-good moment, and the crowd were even chanting his name, which was just brilliant. Cammy, Cammy, Cam. It was brilliant. So, yeah, shout out to Cameron Barnes, and there was a very brief interview held with him backstage after the event, and he was very chuffed about it, and he used some colourful language to illustrate that. But yeah, he was very, very happy to be up on stage thanks to Tom Walker, and just a very cool moment. And yeah, it kind of reminds me to plug Rab Show Live again, because Cammy will be joining us on the Thursday. Yeah. So thank you to Tom Walker for having bagpipes on stage. Honestly, it really did help lift your big hit, I guess. It's the one song that everyone really knows from Tom Walker. But what a moment. Yeah, from the Transmit Festival, Cammy Barnes, all the way from those thousands of people chanting your name to Big Rab Show Live at Piping Live, man. Yeah. Hey, that's not to undersell our stage. We're going to have people cheering as well, hopefully. But maybe not hundreds of thousands of people like at the Transmit Festival on a massive stage and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, it'll be a little bit smaller, Cammy, but yeah, it'll be all the more fun. We're looking forward to having you. So there you go. That'll be on the Thursday of Piping Live. If you do want to catch up with Cameron Barnes, he'll be helping play some tunes at Rab Show Live. Good stuff. Okay, well, speaking of Cameron Barnes and everything, we have to give a mention to the Red Hot Chili Pipers. Yeah, the Red Hot Chilies have just announced their full USA 2025 tour schedule, which rolls all the way through from August 15th to October 4th. And let's say this, there isn't a town in the United States that the Chilies haven't played in at this stage. They are all across the US at this. Seriously going to be putting in the miles. When you look at the listings of the gigs, I just don't know how the Chilies do it. It's like night after night after night, different venue, different states, playing tunes all across the United States. It's just brilliant to see. So if you are a fan of the Red Hot Chili Pipers, well, yeah, there's your opportunity, especially if you're listening in the US right now. And all that detail will be up there on their website. The Red Hot Chili Pipers, seriously, the list of dates and venues is incredible. They're going to be absolutely exhausted by the time they come home. It's such a grueling schedule. Yikes. So I hope you managed to bring some spare reeds with you, boys. There you go. So, yeah, shout out to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's exciting right there. There you go. All right, at the point of me recording this as well, I have to give a very happy birthday to Camille Late. Yo! Camille, of course, is a good mate of the show, and she's been on here quite a number of times now. She's also a bagpiper, of course, with the Australian Celtic Women, as well as the Brisbane Pipe Band. Well, yeah, today is her birthday, so just wanted to wish a happy birthday, Camille. Happy birthday! There you go. We don't often do birthday shout-outs here in the show. Maybe we should do that more often. So, I don't know. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday. All right. We have to talk about, well, as much as we're going to be talking about the UKs that are just behind us, we have to talk about what's happening this weekend. Right here in Northern Ireland, yeah, the Ards and North Down Championships are taking place. Now, this has kind of been, I don't know, it's fell under the radar because it's been so close to the likes of the All-Irelands and, yeah, the UKs. But, yeah, Regent House Playing Fields in Newton Ards will host, yeah, the Ards and North Down Championships. Now, I think one of the biggest problems at this venue, again, that old chestnut, parking. Yeah. The Regent House School campus, which is about 5 minutes walk away, that's where the parking is. So it's quite a distance away. So if you're going to be dragging a load of gear with you, maybe plan ahead, you know. But for full details on all of your parking arrangements, which might not be ideal, go to rspbani.org. Check out all the detail there about, what's happening in Regent House. Yeah, so that's this weekend. But let's talk about the draw, shall we? Now, as expected, this is normally within that's the July fortnight break. And bands are so used to getting a break around this time of year. I think it's being reflected here. Whenever you look at the draw for this contest, it's certainly lower than expected. Looking at Grade 4B, bands on the day will include Kirkustown, Brady Ulster Scots, Down Academy, Rafferty, McDonald Memorial, Tullylagan, go on the Lagan, yep, and Queen Elizabeth. And that's your Grade 4B. Yeah, 7 bands in total. Yeah, so well down compared to what a normal competition would look like in 4B here. Yeah, but still, 7 bands in there will be in there throwing digs. So I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out on top. Good luck, everyone. Looking at Grade 4A, we have the Altnavay Memorial, followed by Thiepval Memorial. Then we have Grantia, Down Academy, the Graham Memorial, Clontibrick, and Moneygore wrapping things up. And that's 4A. 6 bands in there. There you go. Again, numbers are down. Looking at Grade 3B then, we have the Cleland Memorial, followed by Surla and District, the William Kerr Memorial, Upper Crossgar, and Drumlock. And just the 5 bands. There you go. Now, Grade 3A has been somewhat kind of subsidized with a number of bands from 3B playing up into 3A, which has kind of been the norm this season. That's been happening a lot here in Northern Ireland. So kicking things off from Grade 3B is Drumlock. Now, I have to give a particular mention to Drumlock here. What an unfortunate draw. Yeah, they close Grade 3B at 2:20. Then, 20 minutes later, they're in Grade 3A. Yeah, so as soon as they're off the line, they have to reach in and right back in the circle again. There's no mess in there. Yeah, good luck, Drumlock. Yeah, and also in 3A, we have McNeilstown, followed by the Irvine Memorial. The William Kerr Memorial are also playing up, along with Surla and District as well, but they're a little bit later in the grade, so they do have some time to possibly go and get a burger and a cup of tea and then run back and play their final tune for the day. But yeah, good luck to Drumlock. That's a very quick turnaround. Literally 20 minutes or so. And you'll see some people from Drumlock sprinting. I can guarantee it. There you go. Moving on. Looking at Grade 2 then, we have McNeilstown and the Irvine Memorial. Yeah, both bands playing up into Grade 2 that day. So, yeah, good luck to both bands. Only the 2 in Grade 2. And looking at Grade 1, it's not much of a competition, but rather a showcase, as we talked about last night in Fuse. Ravara will be stepping into the circle to play us a few tunes. And, looking forward to seeing Ravara thumping out some good tunes and stretching their legs. Yeah, getting that all-important circle time. So, yeah, it counts for a lot, doesn't it? So, yeah, looking forward to seeing Ravara this weekend at the Ards and North Down Championship. Now, as I mentioned, parking at this will be challenging. That's not a secret. And a lot of people have been talking about this online going, where am I supposed to park my car, all that there. Right, I've said it at the beginning of this news story. I'm going to finish with it. Go to the rspbani.org for all your details for this weekend's championship. that's where you need to go. I have to give full credit to the Northern Ireland branch, by the way. Their information pages that they publish on each competition are brilliant. Like, they cover everything. You know, where your band should practice, how the finale's supposed to run, what you do with your band gazebo, if you're bringing a motorhome, what are you allowed, where do you park your bus if you're bringing a bus. Also, things around like food and drink, barbecues, toilet facilities, first aid, lost persons, if you're allowed to fly a drone or not. What do you do with your litter? Are you allowed to bring a dog with you? What happens if someone gets absolutely steaming and starts a row and has all sorts of unacceptable behaviour? Well, yeah, there's a zero-tolerance approach to that, apparently. Also, like, there's so much considered on these event pages. It's just brilliant to see. So, yeah, shout out to the Northern Ireland branch. Very detailed, and it leaves no room for doubt whenever there's any questions asked. So, yeah. Brilliant. Right, so that's it. The Ards and North Down Championship this weekend. Good luck to everyone competing if you are in the circle. And yes, of course, ourselves and the Big Rab Show team, we will be there and we'll be filming everything that we possibly can and bringing it to our YouTube channel. Of course, we do also plan to be live with the all-important results. So if you do want to catch that live as it happens and announced in the park, then do be following us there on our socials. The Big Rab Show over there on Facebook. All right. So, it's going to be quite a busy weekend, but we need to talk about the busy weekend that was just past there, don't we? I think at this point it's time for me to go and get myself a big cup of tea. It's finally time for the topic of the week.
Kingdom Thistle Pipe Band Supplies for all your pipe band and marching band needs. Supplying everything from uniforms and instruments to custom-designed bass drum heads. They offer it all. Not forgetting their exclusive Kingdom Ghillie Brogues and George Boots, crafted by bands for bands. Kingdom Thistle provides expert product advice and an industry-leading drum refurbishment service to keep your equipment in top-class condition. Also, shipping worldwide. So, stop by their store in Fife or visit them online at kingdomthistle.com for all your pipe band and marching needs. Ready to take your playing to the next level? Say hello to the ES Session Chanter, the ultimate practice chanter designed for versatility and durability. Crafted from stainless steel and aluminium, the chanter comes equipped for both an A stem and a B flat stem, giving you the freedom to play along with any instrument, anytime, anywhere. Whether at a band practice or a trad session, the ES Session Chanter keeps pace with your creativity. Included with the chanter is the custom carbon carry case, the perfect addition to this compact and tactile instrument. To get yours, head to essessionchanter.co.uk.
Hello, this is Allie the Piper, and you are listening to The Big Rab Show.
And here it is, topic of the week. You've finally made it. Yes, we got there in the end, didn't we? Cheapers. I don't know, quite an introduction with a lot of ground to cover, but here we are. Let's talk about the UK Championships, the first major in the calendar, which happened in Edinburgh this past weekend. Yes, now again, we're not going to go and start blethering away about the date in which it was held on. I think we've talked about this now until we're blue in the face, but again, it was pretty evident on the day just how quiet the UK Championships were. Yeah, for a major championship, looking at the amount of competition that was on the grass, along with spectators alike, I've been told by a lot of people who were there in attendance on the day that it was really just quiet and didn't have much atmosphere about it. Now, whether that was the size of the actual venue or just, the organization of it all, don't know. But a lot of people just did comment on that the atmosphere just didn't seem to be there. It's disappointing because we were really hoping to see that this event would really lift the roof, I guess, even though there isn't a roof. But yeah, we were expecting big things from the UKs and really hopeful for a day of blistering competition. And yeah, we did get that to a degree. And we're going to get into all of it. Now, first of all, the topic on the day was the conditions. The weather in Edinburgh, was kind of the same as what it was here in Northern Ireland. Here in Northern Ireland, we had about 30 degrees Celsius weather. Now, that's really quite warm by Northern Ireland standards, and there wasn't a breath of air, as they say. There was very little in the way of wind here in Northern Ireland. However, in Edinburgh, it did seem to be quite breezy. So quite a difficult day for setting sound. Some bands were having difficulties there with their timings and stuff, and we'll talk about that. Conditions on the day were certainly a challenge, not just for bands, but also for drum majors as well. And the layout of the arenas and things, and just the sheer space that was available meant that it was quite open to the elements in certain places. And that's been a comment that we've received as well. Anyway, so we're going to get into the comments and all that kind of stuff. Your thoughts and feelings on the UK Championships. Because we got tons of weekly drones, and we'll get into all of those, okay? So JD's on standby. Don't worry, JD. We'll call on you in a minute or two. But first of all, let's get into the actual results. The results of the competition itself, good and proper. Starting with our drum majors. Looking at the juvenile drum majors, first of all, our UK champion, Jamie Lee Wilson of Brady Ulster Scots. Woo! Well done, Jamie Lee. All right, moving on. In second place, we had Catherine Spears of Burnt Island and District. In third place was Grace Surfless from Cloughlin. Good stuff. And in fourth place, we had Logan Clark from Burnt Island and District. There you go. And that was your juvenile grade. Moving on to juniors, there was only 2 in there on the day. And coming out on top, the UK champion, Georgia Turkington of the Matt Boyd Memorial. Well done, Georgia. And in second place was Grace Murdoch from Barhead and District. There you are, and that was your juniors. Moving on, looking at our adult grade then on the day, 8 drum majors here in total, so not a huge grade for the adult grade, but lifting the top spot. And UK champion, Liam Renton of Inverary and District. Yes, well done, Liam. In second place was Gib Fraser from the Royal Borough of Annan. In third place was Charlotte Ruddock from Battle Hill. In fourth place was Kevin Renton from People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate. There you are. That was your top 4. All in all, I think it was quite a challenging day for drum majors. I have heard some stories about, having to throw a mace in direct sunshine can be really challenging because, let's face it, whenever you chuck a mace up in the air and then you're blinded by the sun, then you've no idea where that mace has went. Okay, I'm hope it's going to come down. Clang. There you are. I'm not saying that happens, but definitely I've been told that drum majoring in the sunshine is nearly more challenging than drum majoring in the rain. Yeah, so I can certainly see that for sure. And drum majors are not allowed to wear sunglasses. I don't know where that would come in the M&D preference and all that kind of stuff. Don't know if they're allowed sunglasses in M&D. There you are. Maybe they should. All right, but that's our drum majoring competition. So it was a quiet day for drum majors, all in all, just not a huge entry of drum majors for the UKs. There you are. So let's move on. Let's look at our bands then, starting with grade Novice B. And winners on the day were Lochgelly High School. Yes, well done to Lochgelly. They done so with 2 firsts in piping, a second in drumming, however. Winning the drumming on the day was the PLC pipe band from Melbourne, Australia. Whoa! Yeah, and I had a listen to their run, actually. I managed to find a video of it online. And yeah, their drum corps were singing, man. Whew. Yeah, their drum corps were absolutely blistering. They finished 6th in ensemble. Anyway, so let's move on. In second place was the Isle of Arran Music School. Again, a great performance from them, yeah. With a 1st in ensemble and a 6th in drumming. There seemed to be a disagreement there on the day between the drumming adjudicator and the ensemble judge. There you are. Moving on, in third place was Bucksburn and District, and in fourth place was North Lanarkshire Schools. There you are. 6 bands in the grade in total on the day, and go and check out that run from the PLC pipe band from Melbourne, Australia. Really enjoyed that. And of course, our UK champions, Lochgelly High School Junior, they definitely thumped out a good tune, so well done. Deserved UK champs. Moving on to Novice A then. Winners on the day, Lochgelly High School. Yes, well done. They actually split the piping with the second place finisher, who was People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate. Yeah, split the piping with them. And Boghall managed to win the drumming. However, Lochgelly won an ensemble. So there you are. It shows you how important ensemble preference can be whenever it, comes down to it. So there you go. Well done, Lochgelly High School. lifting the top spot in Novice A. All right, let's move on to Grade 4B then. 10 bands in total here. Normally with Grade 4B, we're seeing a much higher entry of bands, but not at the UK's. Now, I've already mentioned that. Moving on. Our winner and UK champion for 2025, Barhead and District Pipe Band. Yes, well done, Barhead. Actually managed to split the piping with our runner-up on the day, who was Uddingston Strathclyde. Yes, well done, Uddingston. Winners of the drum corps on the day were Donatar Pipes and Drums, who finished up 6th overall. Yeah. In 3rd place was Pennewick and District, and in 4th place was Irvine and District. There you are. So quite an interesting day here. If you do want to go and have a look at those, again, disagreements between judges here, that it happened again in here in Grade 4B. Again, between the drumming judge and ensemble judge, just seem to be arguing back and forth. Differences of opinions there. Interesting that. But yeah, again, we have to stress, we're not in that circle. We don't hear what they hear. Okay? But one of the... All right, I know people hate it when I do this, but one of the results that really stood out to me in Grade 4B, okay, was Arbroath. Now, if you haven't seen this yet, I'm sure you're probably going to have a look at it now. But Grade 4B at the UK Championships this year, the result that came through for Arbroath was very curious. Now, Arbroath finished 9th overall. They had a 10th in ensemble, 10th in drumming, 10th in piping from one judge, and a 3rd in piping from another. Okay, so 10th to 3rd, that's a big gap. So I'm just wondering, what did one piping judge hear and what did the other one hear? And every other judge there in the circle all seemed to have placed that band 10th, but except for that one person, placed them 3rd. Okay, all right. Again, I wasn't there with the clipboard, so I can't, guess what they heard and what they didn't hear. But still, make for an interesting read there. Grade 4B, the full summary sheets are available now. Go and have a look at it. And yeah, shout out to Arbroath. I'm sure you're scratching your head about that one as well. Yeah, wondering what happened. Who was right? Who was incorrect? We don't know. But there we are. That's bands. Moving on to Grade 4A then. Our UK champions on the day were Black Raven. Black Raven Pipe Band with ones right across the board. Yeah, hot off the heel of their All-Ireland Championship win. Here they are. Yeah, picking up the UK's. I don't know, Black Raven's having such a good season this year. Yeah, ones right across. They lifted the drum corps as well, so well done. In 2nd place was the Vale of Atholl. Go on, the Vale. Good stuff. In 3rd place then was the East Ayrshire Caledonia Pipe Band. Yes, and in 4th place was Coulter and District. There you go. So, yeah, again, I think with this grade, though, the judges were more in agreement here. Okay, so that the judging in this one, not too many huge disparities, okay? But 4B was an interesting read. But again, we weren't in the circle. I still haven't heard those runs yet. So anyway, I keep harkening back to the grade before. But yeah, shout out to Black Raven. Well done. UK champions and All-Ireland champions. So not a bad year so far to be Black Raven fan. Go on, the Black Raven. Good stuff. All right, moving on to Grade 3B then. Winners on the day and UK champion in the Grade 3B, Scottish Borders. Yes, with 2 firsts in piping, a 2nd in drumming and 2nd in ensemble, however. But yeah, that was enough to pull them into that top spot. Well done, the Scottish Borders. In 2nd place in ensemble preference was Elgin in District. Yes, and in 3rd place was Wollaston in District. And they also managed to lift the drumming title as well. Well done, the Wollaston. In 4th place was the J1225 Pipe Band. Yes, and they actually achieved that with a 1st in ensemble. Not bad. Now, I have tried to find out more information about them. Okay, I think I remember talking about this in our UK Championship preview, that I don't know much about them, and I'll hold my hand up, I still don't know much about this band. I think trying to get information on them has been quite difficult. So if anyone from that band is out there from the J1225, please get in touch with us. We'd love to learn more about your band. And of course, if you have any recordings as well, please send them our way. We're very keen to hear this. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, also have to mention, again, a shout out to our UK champs, the Scottish Borders Pipe Band. Yeah, well done. Moving on. Grade 3A, winners on the day was Texo, D-Side Caledonia. Yes, well done. But 2 firsts in piping, a 1st in ensemble as well. However, an 8th in drumming. Well down the pecking order in the drumming front. However, 2 first piping, first in ensemble, and they lifted it an ensemble preference there. So well done to D-Side Caledonia. Or sorry, full title, Texo D-Side Caledonia. There you go. In second place was Macanta. Yes, and they also lifted the drumming title on the day. Now, I did manage to hear the run from Macanta, and yeah, I was very impressed with their pipe core, actually. Yeah, blowing a big sound, very musical. Really enjoyed it. In third place then was Methil and District. Well done. In fourth place was the City of Stirling Pipe Band. There you are. And yeah, this was one of these grades where there was big differences of an opinion here between ensemble and drumming on the day. Yeah, and the City of Stirling bring this into sharp focus with their drumming placing 14th on the day. However, ensemble-wise, they were placed second. And there's 16 bands in the grade, folks. So, right. So I know, as I've said already, people hate it when I do this and I draw attention to these possible disagreements in judging here. But it's in clear display right here. All right. So grade 4B is one of them, but grade 3A is another. And I'm not going to delve into other bands like I did earlier. You can go and read it, these at your leisure. They're all up there. But clearly these judges heard something. Or something different, and they disagreed. And that can happen, you know. People with the clipboard can have different musical tastes, and perhaps one judge can love something while another judge absolutely hates it. And this is a prime example of that. Anyway, let's move on. But well done to our UK champions, Texo D-Side Caledonia. Well done, folks. Moving on to grade 2. The ridiculous grade. Now, this ridiculous grade of the UK Championships did not disappoint. Thankfully, I've managed to have a listen to a good lot of it. And, well, yeah, to everyone out there who's been complaining, I'm going to put this out there. There was a lot of folks out there who were complaining that we didn't manage to film all 10 bands in that grade. Hi, Rob, how come you've no recordings of this band, that band, the other band, insert name here? Well, it was quite a challenging day for us on the Rab Show team. And, yeah, we did have team members out there, but they were competing on the day. Yeah. So Stuart was competing with Onyx and Strathclyde. We also had Annabelle Charton, who's recently volunteered to help us out in Rab Show. And, yeah, she recently just finished filming grade 1 and then had to race across the park to try and get the last of grade 2 because the 2 grades ran in tandem. So, yeah, we can't physically, you know, be in 2 places at once. So, very challenging day. So, we managed to catch what we caught. And what we have is up there now on our YouTube channel. All right, so that's by way of a full explanation. Let's talk about the grade 2, the ridiculous grade. Of course, our UK champions, Uddingston. Yahoo! That deserves a cheer, doesn't it? Yeah, Uddingston, wow, is all I could say. Uddingston were so good, man. Where did that sound come from? I have no idea, but man, are they singing at the minute. Wow. Yeah. So a second and a first in piping. They split the piping on the day with the Glasgow Sky Association, who also thumped a blistering tune on the day. My word, it was something else. Yikes. Yeah, but yeah, winners on the day, Uddingston, just fantastic. And Glasgow Sky as well, just thumped a massive tune, as we mentioned. In third place in ensemble preference was the Royal Borough of Annan. Again, another band that have really been, I don't know, producing the goods over this last 2 or 3 years. They're certainly building a huge bit of momentum there in grade 2. Royal Borough, definitely a band not to count out for sure. So if you're going to be predicting for the next major, that's 3 names to add into the mix there already. Uddingston, the Glasgow Sky, and Royal Borough of Annan. In fourth place was Buck and Peterson, and they also managed to lift the drumming title on the day. And yeah, their drum corps are absolutely clicking at the minute. They are absolutely brilliant. So if you haven't seen that, go along, check it out. There are videos of it online. Wow. Okay, now I have to give a shout out to Worcester Kilty from the United States, who were in the mix there as well. They managed to finish up in 9th overall, which is one from last. There's 10 in the grade in total. But yeah, they picked up a 9th in drumming and a 7th overall in the ensemble. Yeah, but yeah, their overall placing was 9th in the grade. So, but yeah, it was great to see them in the mix there, and they definitely played a good tune for sure. But yeah, it is called the ridiculous grade for a reason. Yikes, is all I can say. The standard of music in this grade, man, is just another level. But Uddingston, they looked like a force to be reckoned with, and they absolutely sounded like one as well. Wow. And Glasgow Sky as well. They really hit the circle with authority. They made you sit up and pay attention. And for Royal Borough of Annan as well, so musical. It just ebbed and flowed. Really beautiful to listen to. Anyway, there's so much to enjoy there in grade 2. I've said it before that if you were to set up a deck chair at grade 2 and just to listen, you would absolutely be thoroughly entertained. Yeah. All right, let's move on to grade 1 then. Of course, by now you've possibly already seen all this. The winner and UK champion for 2025, St. Lawrence O'Toole. Yes, they've defended their UK championship. So here they are, 2-time winner. Yeah, consecutive winner, that as well. They also lifted the Drummond Prize as well. Yes, well done, Stephen Crichton and co. That St. Lawrence O'Toole band, clearly very happy to have retained their UK championship. Well done, folks. Yeah. In second place was People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate, Caledonia. They actually won the piping on the day with 2 firsts in piping. However, a second in drum and a second in ensemble. Yeah, so that's how St. Lawrence O'Toole pipped them to the post. In third place then was Johnstone, who also played quite a good tune as well. So, yeah, don't sleep on Johnstone is what I'm saying. Go and check them out. But, yeah, shout out to St. Lawrence O'Toole. Clearly very happy to have retained their UK championship, but they had to play for it. It wasn't an easy competition in grade 1. I'll say that. So, yeah, St. Lawrence O'Toole, People's Ford, Boghall and Bathgate and Johnstone, all 3 bands were not phoning it in. They were really hitting that circle. And boys, was it something else, man. Anyway, so if you haven't heard the runs yet, we do have videos of that up there on our YouTube channel, and you can go and check that out at your leisure. Yeah. So a massive shout out to St. Lawrence O'Toole, UK champions. But I don't think it's game over quite yet. I know whenever people look at this point in the season, we are starting to look towards predictions. Now, can we predict anything at all for the next major championship? Absolutely not. There is no chance of predicting anything at this point, all right? Because that was kind of the first question that came out. All right, Rob, who have you got pegged for the Worlds? And I'm like, what? Hold on a minute. You're talking Worlds already? We've got 2 more majors to go before we even get anywhere near Glasgow. Yeah, we've got the Scottish and the Euros to think about. And then possibly we might get into prediction territory. But even then, it will be nowhere near accurate. Anyway, but yes, that was the results from the UK Championships. Okay, now plenty of thoughts and opinions about the day itself, especially the venue, the layout, how the competition was ran, all of it. And I don't know, a lot of people, it was either you're in one of 2 camps. Either you absolutely loved the UK's and it was the best weekend you've ever had, or it was the worst weekend you've ever had. Oh my God, Rab, I'll never be back to Edinburgh. It was terrible. What an awful day, etc., etc. Okay, so I just wanted to summarize the listener mail, and that was kind of it. You were either in one of either 2 camps. You either loved it or you hated it. I know a lot of spectators that attended it and purchased tickets to be there, and were very disappointed with the amount of stuff in that on offer. There was a lot of talk about, the availability or the selection of food vendors and things like that. And, that was disappointing for a lot, saying that this was not a major championship. There wasn't an awful lot to do at it. And if your piping's not your thing and you've brought the family with you, well, you might bring a football with you or something and kick it about for 5 minutes. That might keep you entertained or something, because there wasn't much else at it, apparently. Anyway, let's get into the weekly drones. As we've mentioned, weekly drone is an open microphone to the bagpiping world, okay? Now, some weekly drones that we did receive, we have chosen not to broadcast. Now, one of the things about weekly drone, we always like to open that microphone to the piping scene. But when it crosses a line of actually pointing fingers and accusing people of things, or flat out insulting people and calling this person a bleep, 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 that's when it crosses the line. I actually do have a bleep machine now. So whenever you call that guy over there and he's nothing but a and a yeah, you get the picture? So, yeah, we cannot broadcast that kind of stuff because it's absolutely out of order. I love the bleep machine. It's handy. Maybe I should get the chanter on guys back on again. Anyway. No way. So, right. Let's get into some weekly drones. Our weekly drones that we can broadcast this week, and don't get into that crazy accusational territory or finger pointing or flat out insulting, and are broadcastable. We've a range of them. Okay. Let's start with the very first one. JD, time to get back to work, buddy. Let us hear this very first weekly drone then, please.
It's the weekly drone.
UK Championships. Rab and team, I was watching your live stream of the results from the UK Championships, and I have a few things on my mind I'd like to share. First thing, there were less bands competing at this major championship, yet the prize giving seemed to take an absolute age. Why did it take so long? I heard bands playing and marching off the field with their prize while they were still announcing and giving out the prizes in grade 3A. Seriously, this march past and prize giving needs sorted. Otherwise, we'll be announcing the world's winners under floodlights again. Embarrassing. Second thing, the amount of complainers on your live stream was ridiculous. I can't hear, I can't see. I missed grade 4B, who won? I missed the drum majors, who won? There's too much background noise, too much wind, blah blah blah. Folks, Rab and team have explained this so many times, but the message is just not getting through. They are not a professional production company. They are a team of volunteers who are doing the best they can. If that isn't good enough, and you think you could do better, then offer to help. Third and final thing, the UK Championships was such a non-runner as far as actual competition is concerned. So many bands not competing in all grades made things a bit of a one-sided Scottish UK Championship. Such a shame, really. Would have loved to have seen more bands from Ireland and Northern Ireland in the mix. Granted, an Irish band did lift the title in grade 1. As for the big announcement in the park about the next British Championships being held at the same venue on 30 of May 2026, it's difficult to get excited about it. However, I am hopeful that at least we are planning ahead now, and that's one date we can add to our books for next season. What will happen to the other majors now for 2026? Are they secured also? Guess we'll see. Very long drone. Sorry, JD. Thank you, Rab and team. Keep up the good work. Ignore the complainers. You guys are doing amazing work supporting our scene. See you at Piping Live.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Weekly Droner. We do hope to see you at Piping Live. Quite right. Yeah, you raised some interesting points there. Let's start with your very first one there, talking about the March Past. Yes, the March Past, the prize given, it did seem to be absolutely business as usual, didn't it? And it took forever. Now, we don't have any explanation for that. Now, yeah, we also take your point that there were less bands in attendance, and this should have been a lot quicker, but it wasn't. So you're quite right in saying that. In our opinion, we believe that this kind of dragged on a bit, and we have no explanation for it. When the prizes were announced for each grade, which were done quite quickly, I have to say, they were done in very quick succession. And in first place was this, second place was that, third was this, fourth was that. And then there seemed to be a massive pause forever. No idea what was going on. And I don't know, you can maybe put it down to bands not sending people up for prizes quickly enough. Or maybe the photographer was taking an age. But I did remember hearing this a couple of times. Can somebody please come up for your trophy for M&D? Today, please. I do remember hearing that a few times. Now, I don't know why or what's going on. Bands should already have this prior arranged. If they even have an inkling that they might lift a prize or something, have a plan in place. If your band's name does get read out, that person needs to run, okay? Don't walk, don't dander, don't shake everybody's hand in the park and say, oh, yeah, thanks very much, yeah, we won. Go and get your prize. Don't delay, just get up there, get your photo, shake your hands, then you can go back and shake everybody's hand and celebrate and all that there, because, yeah, it does genuinely slow things down. Now, whether that's the reason or not, I don't know. That could be stuff that Rab got wrong. But, yeah, it did take forever. You're quite right. As for the competition being an all-Scottish affair, well, we did mention earlier about bands there from Australia and for the United States and stuff, and that was great to see. But, yes, you're quite right. There's quite a distinct lack of bands from across the Irish Sea. Granted, Black Raven managed to win their grade, and St. Lawrence Tool picked up the overall title, so there was some Irish representation there on the prize-winning list as well. So, yeah, it would have been a much more interesting competition had more bands have been there. Yes, granted, I can agree with that, yes. But it is what it is, and we're not going to get into that topic of the date again. Anyway, but yeah, you mentioned about the announcement that happened at the very end. Now, thankfully, Stuart and that managed to keep the camera rolling, okay? And I'm very glad he did, because there was a very interesting announcement at the very end of it about the date for the British Championships, and that they were going to be held in Edinburgh. Now, the British Championships is different from the UK's. Now, we were told in an earlier announcement from RSPBA headquarters that, yeah, the reason that the UK Championships were held on this date and in this location is because, well, this was the only location that offered to host the UK's, and that it would help secure future dates at this venue for the UK Championships. But that now seems to have changed. What has changed precisely is the major championship itself. Now, we're still going to host a major there, but it now no longer will be the UK's. It's now been announced that it will be the British Championships. So what does the future hold for the UK's then? Where's it going to be? What about our Scottish, our European, our Worlds? All of that. Are those dates set in stone? Have we got places for those yet? Don't know is the answer. We have absolutely no clue. So, but yeah, I do take your point. Now we finally do have a date in the calendar for our British Championships. Now that is encouraging, because we're not having one this year. Anyway, that's a topic for another day. But yeah, no British Championships in 2025, but we've managed to secure a date and location for it next year. So that's encouraging. Yes, I take your point. So yeah, Weekly Droner, thank you for your thoughts. Yes, we know you said it was quite a long weekly drone, and it was. But, hey, we love to have them in as well. So there you go. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and opinions on that one. All right. JD, I believe we do have another weekly drone on the shelf. So, all right, let's get into it then. Press play then, JD.
It's the weekly drone.
Grade 2. Rab, listening to the Grade 2 contest on Saturday, and I honestly think that the top 3 bands are a mile ahead of the rest. If we could put them up into Grade 1 and then adjust the lower grades, it may help to thin out the numbers into more evenly contested grades.
I don't think that's how upgrading bands works, unfortunately. No. I don't know if you could immediately upgrade a band mid-season without some good reason. Yeah, now we have seen it happen. Don't get me wrong, it has happened before. There has been bands that have played a couple of competitions, even a major or two, and then suddenly find themselves upgraded before the big one. Whether they'll be fit to do that this year with any band that, we're talking about, you mentioned Grade 2 there. No, I doubt that very much. I can't see that happening this season. The calendar's just too compact. The music board won't have an opportunity to review fully in that window of time, I wouldn't think. So, yeah, but it has been discussed before with the likes of Grade 1, establishing like a Grade 1A and a Grade 1B. You know, whether that would help or not, don't know. We've argued this point on the show before. And will we have a similar situation now for grade 2? Now, what you mentioned there about the top 3 bands being miles ahead of everybody else in the grade, that's arguable. You know, that is your opinion. But I have to stress there is a wealth of great music in that grade. And we do call it the ridiculous grade for a reason. Yeah, some of the bands in there, seriously, are so incredible. But yet, sometimes never really see the light of day when it comes to the prizes. You know, I know whenever people listen back to the recordings that they do normally try to listen to the top 6. But I would urge you to check out the whole grade if you can. Get the full list of bands that competed that day and listen to all of grade 2. Seriously, there's some fantastic tunes played in there. And this past weekend at the UK's is a prime example of that. You mentioned the top 3 bands. Yes, they were absolutely brilliant. We've spoke about them earlier on when we were going through the results. I agree. They were brilliant. Absolutely, hands down, they were class. But everyone else in that grade as well also had a thumping good day. Yeah, there was so many good tunes in there. Man. Whether we should have a grade 2A and a grade 2B, I don't know if that would work or help in some regard. That's debatable, I guess. But yeah, we have spoke about the grade 1A, grade 1B, or even having like a grade 1 elite or something. That was suggested. I think someone mentioned it that similar to football or soccer here in the UK. You know, you have your Division 1, but then you have your Premier League, you know. I don't follow football, but the likes of your Ronaldos or Maradonas, I don't know. They're the only 2 footballers I know. Come at me. But yeah, you know, whether that'll work or not, and whether it will help or not, I don't know. That's arguable, but an interesting drone all the same. And I'm glad you enjoyed the grade 2 competition at the weekend. Good stuff. All right, let's move on. We need another weekly drone, JD. Let us have it. What's on the shelf, mate?
It's the weekly drone.
Ingleston. So, on Saturday, we found out that the first major of 2026 will be held at Ingleston. In general, I think it has the space to be a good major venue, but it was clear that it was flung together with very little thought put into it. Why are the crowd kept so far away from the contest circle, making it hard to hear and see what was going on? No beer tent, just small beer vendors. Okay when not as many bands are there, and also when the weather's good, but on a cold, wet day? The tuning area had loads of bands putting gazebos up, but the bus park had ample space there for these. The entrance to the final tuning and the arenas was a bottleneck. With bigger attendance, this will be highlighted more. Not a huge selection of food vendors, not worth £15 to get in my opinion. I don't think I saw any stalls selling the usual t-shirts, capes, etc. It's not the sort of location that it's easy to get to unless by band bus or car. You're kind of stuck out in the middle of nowhere counting the planes that are landing. It was good to have actual toilets to use rather than those smelly blue portaloos. Overall, 5 out of 10, but they could take small steps to improve the enjoyment of bandsmen and spectators alike.
Interesting thoughts there, Weekly Droner, and I'm very glad that you didn't have to use a smelly blue portaloo. So, yeah, we don't have Portaloo review. Now, we normally do this at our major championships, Portaloo review, but we didn't get to do one at the UK's because apparently the toilet facilities were lovely, is what I was told. So, toilet review was lovely. I'm not going to tell you who told me that, but they were lovely. But yeah, some interesting thoughts on the actual venue itself. I have heard about the bottleneck that is the entrance into that. And yeah, people kind of funneling through to see events happening as well as bands trying to get the final tuning and all of that kind of stuff. And it was all a little mad. And also where the pipe bands were able to pitch their tents and stuff, there was a lot more space available than what they were possibly given. Yeah, and yeah, but we mentioned that earlier about the food vendors and selection of other vendors that were there. So yes, fair point. And this space that they're using there, I think this is a first for their pipe band competition hosting. I'm not sure. And again, that could be stuff that Rab got wrong, but I do believe this is the first time that venue has hosted a major pipe band championship. Now, perhaps this is down to experience of the venue, of not knowing what's required for a piping event. What they put on that day could well have been more than ample for anything else that they would have been putting on. I think one of the things that they're most famous for is the Royal Highland Show, which is like an agricultural type of a show. But they also host a slew of other events there. There's like car shows or vintage rallies and things like that, where, space is the name of the game. And they have oodles of it there. But as you mentioned, that space was so big. And for some reason, they had the crowd so far away from the band. Now, you might have seen our videos on YouTube, all right? What our weekly droner is talking about there, our camera was a mile away from the pipe band. And trust me, this was the best possible spot we could have got with our camera. We did try multiple different spots around that arena to try and get a good sound so we could actually hear the band. And that was incredibly challenging. So again, I have to give a shout out to Annabelle. Thank you so much for dealing with all of that on the day. It was very challenging. And because, we don't have any special access into the arena where we can be like 3 inches away from someone's chanter. No, we don't have any sort of specialist access. We're just there with you guys, the paying public, and we do our best to get the best shot possible. And as you've seen in our videos on our YouTube channel, that was miles away and very difficult to hear. And I don't know. Will that be the case for the British Championships whenever it rolls around? I don't know. I honestly think that a lot of lessons have been learned from this, not just by the venue and the staff that work there, but also by headquarters as well. That, now that they've managed to run an event in this space, they can now kind of troubleshoot it and say, well, right, on the day, this went well, that went well, and then here's everything else that perhaps didn't go as well, and let's look at it and try and fix it. So I'm hopeful, okay? Yeah, I'm always the optimist, and I'm hopeful that the British Championships will be, all singing and dancing. It would be fantastic. So, I don't know, or perhaps it'll be stuff that Rab got wrong, but you can listen back to this podcast and laugh at me if it turns out to be a total disaster. But, some interesting thoughts there on the actual venue itself. And, clearly not a fan there of some things. A 5 out of 10. All right, JD, I believe we have one more weekly drone left, and then we'll possibly wrap things up with our UK wrap-up. But, let us hear it.
It's the weekly drone.
Piping press. Rab, I am a tad amused by the coverage of the UK's by the piping press. If he can hear an error in the reels and bad blowing from that distance, they must have supersonic hearing.
Weekly droner, we very nearly didn't air this one. Because in a way it is kind of poking fun a little at the publication online called Piping Press. And I'm sure by now you probably know quite well who Piping Press is. But they wrote a report on the UK Championships, and they did speak about that, about blowing issues and errors that were made in certain tunes. And needing supersonic hearing is an understatement. As we mentioned, where the crowd were positioned as to where the band was playing, I don't know, they seemed to be so far apart. So to be able to hear such detail like that, fair play to Piping Press to be able to have heard that. Yeah. Now, I don't know. We kind of played it this week to kind of make people smile a little bit, Now, we're not trying to do so at other people's expense. And perhaps they did have a better vantage point than we did. Perhaps they did get a better position in that massive arena somewhere to be able to hear that detail. That could be, completely on us. But where we were, we certainly couldn't hear anything of like that at all in the Grade 1 circle. Anyway, so, we played that just as a bit of a fun kind of, haha, isn't that amusing kind of thing. So there we go. UK Championships, was it a roaring success? Was it the best event ever? No. Definitely not. It had its problems. Okay, number one was the entries were definitely down from previous years, and we've spoke about that on previous podcasts about the lack of entries for the UK Championships this year. Bitterly disappointing. Would we have loved to have seen more in the circle in every grade? Yes, absolutely. Would have made it a lot more fun as a spectator. But yeah, I don't know. It's arguable. Would it have been more competitive? Would it have been all the more difficult to come out on top? Don't know. That is arguable. And it's time for you folks to decide that one. Draw your own conclusions. But yeah, UK Championships this year, the venue had its problems. I don't know. The weather was certainly a factor as well. I did hear some horrible stories of people coming back with like all sorts of like heat exhaustion, and some people with terrible sunburn, all kind of stuff. So please be careful in really sunny weather, folks. You know, stay hydrated, plenty of sun lotion, and stay in the shade where possible. And just a very challenging day. Overall, just not a blistering success. That definitely had its problems. But at the end of the day, whenever you listen to the music that was played in those circles, everything else aside, okay, the lack of vendors, I can't buy a T-shirt or a cape anywhere, or, you know, there's a bottleneck in the entry. And right, all of that aside, the music that was played here at the UK Championships arguably was absolutely fantastic. All right, now I thoroughly enjoyed listening back to any recordings I've managed to find, even from grade, like we mentioned earlier, grade 4B, there was some brilliant music played in there, even some of the novice grade as well. Wow. Folks, honestly, we know that this major championship, had its problems, but the music was the real winner here. I know that sounds dead cheesy, but genuinely, that's my thoughts on it. So, the music from the UK Championships shows us that the piping world is in a very healthy place. And music-wise, there's so much creativity happening at the minute. Yeah, so genuinely, I'm excited to see what's going to happen now at our future major championships. And there's a lot to unpack here. Not just the thoughts and opinions on how much it was for a burger, or, you know, where do you go to the loo? Is there a blue portaloo available, or do I have a gold-plated bowl? Anyway, what I'm talking about, gold-plated toilet bowls. What are you talking about, Rob? Right, move on. You get my what I'm putting down. All right, it's not without its problems. Wasn't perfect, but hey, it is what it is. That's the number one major out of the road, and well done to all of our UK champions. If they did manage to come out on top and you lifted a prize at all at that, congratulations, well done. You do deserve a massive pat on the back, because that was an incredibly competitive weekend. Wow, well done. So that's it for our UK Championships wrap-up. It is what it is. Our weekly droner gave it a 5 out of 10. Ourselves in the Rab Show, I think we're kind of going to be a little bit more generous than that. Yeah, but we'll keep our score to ourselves. We may well give you a score on each major then on our World's Prediction podcast. That might be interesting, won't it? Anyway, that's it for another Big Rab Show. Another topic is in the can. I have to give a huge shout out to everyone who did send us in weekly drones, by the way, and to JD, who managed to record them all. JD, you're an absolute legend. There was so many that has to have hit the cutting room floor because, some of them are really strong opinions, and, we can't broadcast them. So, to all of those droners, apologies. But, your opinions have been noted. All right. Rob's got a bleep machine now, so I might bring your future drones to a future pod, and I'd be able to say, that boy there, he's nothing but a... Yeah, you get the idea? Family show. That's it for another Big Rab Show. The UK Championships are gone, and that's it for another year. And, we'll be back again next week for another pod. Now, next week, we're going to have quite a special episode for you, where we're going to be delving into an interesting topic that people may not be aware of in the bagpiping world. There's a lot of myths out there about competitive piping, and we're about to dispel those myths in next week's show. This is a podcast that we've been working for a while now, and it's been on the shelf for a little bit. And, we're going to take it off the shelf, dust it off, and update it. And next week's pod's going to be a good one. I'll say that. Anyway, thank you everyone for downloading this week and each and every week. Don't forget to tell your mates about our wee show, about what we're doing over here. talking about what we know and love to be the music of the Great Highland Bagpipe and its people. And again, I'm going to promote it and plug it, Patreon. If you do want to help support our show, then you absolutely can. You can go to Patreon. There's a link in your show notes right now where you can click on support and get your mitts on loads of extras. Yeah, there's a pile of Big Rab Show extra stuff around the corner. And yeah, we're very excited to bring that to our Patreon faithful. So there hasn't been a better time to support us on Patreon. There you go. All right, folks, I'm out the door. Thank you all for downloading this week and each and every week. And we'll catch you all on the Specialist podcast next week. Until then, all the best.
Well, that's it for another Big Rab Show podcast. Thanks so much for downloading this week. And a special thank you to our sponsor, G1 Reeds. Played by bands around the world, they are the champion's choice. Check out g1reeds.com for all of your piping needs. Don't forget to check out thebigrabshow.com to be kept up to date with all of the latest news and views from around the piping world. And also, check us out on Patreon. For $5 a month, you can get your hands on tons of extra piping goodness and be a part of the Patreon faithful. So, until next week, folks, we'll see you right here on the Big Rab Show podcast. All the best.